Hi, everyone. I'm your astrologer, Jamie from j-mescorpioaf, and I'm excited to talk about the activation that'll be taking place when Uranus goes into Gemini on April 26th. We're going to collectively be experiencing a nervous system acceleration and a cognitive shift. And what that means is essentially we're going to be able to really recalibrate our nervous system, have access to providing our body with the support that it needs, and we're going to be able to restructure our mind and be able to see things in a different way that we haven't been able to before. And so with things that you've been trying to work on over the years, processing your traumas, healing certain things, or making even changes that you want in life, that requires a healthy nervous system, a healthy mindset through, for example, increasing your wealth or generating self-made wealth. These things require you to have the proper nervous system support and to have the mindset that facilitates these things. And with Uranus going into Gemini, these shifts are finally happening. So the things that have held you back, the things that have been difficult because there wasn't momentum or you tried to move forward, but you've been feeling stuck, these are going to be things that are going to start to shift now more than ever. And this is because in addition to your nervous system and your mind really being properly supported, you're also going to be able to connect more with your community, with the support that's necessary in order for you to elevate. Because we're biologically social creatures and we require community in order to be successful. In this modern world, nowadays, there's a lot of trying to do things on our own and delegating and using AI in order to do things to save money. But the reality of the matter is that support comes through community. Hyper-independence is a trauma response. And I'm going to be talking about how this shows up in different parts of your chart. But basically, there's this amazing opportunity where you get the community that you need. Your body and your mind is in the state that it's meant to be in its optimal state, in order for you to generate these changes that you truly desire. And there's just overall this momentum, which is so absolutely wonderful. And this isn't just because of Uranus going into Gemini, but it's actually because we have two out of the three generational planets in the zodiac signs that rule the nervous system. And then the third generational planet, a healing planet, is in the physically most resilient sign. And they're all in good aspects to each other. Now, that's not to say that this stimulation is necessarily going to start off being like smooth and amazing for everyone. Like I've mentioned the beneficial qualities that are associated with what's going on right now and how it's going to be collectively influencing us for 10 plus years. But depending on your personal chart, the way you've been navigating your life, some of the stimulation, the nervous system shifts and stuff, originally it might be destabilizing, your mind might be triggered. There are different shifts that can happen, changes and stuff that might be a little rough for some of you guys, depending on your personal placements, what you've been doing, what you haven't been doing. So I'm going to be unpacking all of that with usable information on what you can do to redirect and mitigate any challenges, as well as how to take advantage of the beneficial energies. And this is actually going to be collectively influenced. And so I want to go in astrological order in order to really maximize this information. So we've had Pluto in Aquarius for a while now. And then earlier this year, we've had Saturn and Neptune go into Aries. And then end of April, we're going to have Uranus going into Gemini. And so in order to really take advantage of Uranus and Gemini, we want to take advantage of the energies that came previously. And so with Pluto going into Aquarius, This is to say that Pluto, well, actually, before I get into that, something I want to mention is that the planets always have the ability to overpower the zodiac signs that they're in. So that's something to keep in mind. And the planets have 4 different ways to manifest: emotionally, psychologically, physically, and spiritually. And depending on your rising sign, where these placements are happening, they're going to be in different areas of your life. So I'm going to be creating a service where it's going to be how to work with the current astrology. This is going to affect us all for the next 10 years. And I'm going to be creating all of this information for each rising sign that's related to your specifically to your placements. As far as rising signs go, I'm going to be layering on medical astrology. I have a background as a medical researcher, with a specialized focus on the neurodivergent nervous system in ADHD people, and in specifically people of color and how it functions differently. I'm going to be providing some somatic recommendations and the different activities that you can do, how to make it sustainable, things of that nature. I'm going to make it a lot more accessible and affordable than my personalized consultations, which does get a little bit deeper, but this one is a great choice as well. So I'll leave those comments below. And basically, this video, I'm just going to be sharing with you a little bit about what you can expect and some of the more details that you can find in the paid course, or the rising analyses. So the thing is, with having Pluto in Aquarius, this is to say that Pluto represents power. It's about abuse, psychological things, transformations, reversals. It's receiving support from others. It's all of these amazing things in the sign Aquarius, which rules your nervous system. More specifically, as a generalization, it rules more of the lower part of your body, and so the nervous system below there. Whereas Gemini is your upper part of your body's nervous system state. And Aquarius is your online community, it's your friends, increased wealth, it's elevating, it's about the legacy that you want to leave behind and what you want to bring into the world. It's like, how do you want to better society, essentially? And so this is to say that specifically when it comes to, of course, this is a generalization, of course, but when it comes to your nervous system state, particularly if you experience more hypo-aroused state, which is where your nervous system might be a little bit more disconnected, you might disassociate, you might be more high functioning they call it functional freeze, where essentially, even when you're under stress, you may still be able to kind of push forward, get things done and stuff. It's still leaving your nervous system in a state of depletion, right? And so there's this imbalance that's important to recalibrate. And now more than ever, using psychology, using therapy can be really beneficial, trauma healing work, things of that nature, and receiving support from others. Now, Pluto rules Scorpio, so you can look at where Scorpio is in your chart, and that'll tell you where that support system is. So, for example, I'm a Cancer rising, and I have Pluto in Aquarius in my 8th house. So the 8th house is already about other people's resources, shared resources, things of that nature. And that's what Pluto is about. And Pluto rules Scorpio, which is in my 5th house. 5th house is about pleasure. It's about romance, love, dating. It's about my childhood. It's creativity. It's about having my own business, me as an entrepreneur. It's about my self-expression. So, for example, one of the ways that I can use this energy is to think about, okay, I want to focus on psychologically healing myself, maybe seeing a therapist, maybe going to an online support group or doing group therapy. Aquarius is about large groups of people. So being supported in a group therapy can be really beneficial. This is something that works really well because you might feel more exposed when it's a one-on-one therapy session and it might have like this hierarchy dynamic and stuff. It might be intimidating. But when you're in a support group, you have the facilitator and stuff. So you have someone that you trust, but you also have peers. And so it's a way to not feel so alone. And sometimes it's difficult for us to look at our own shit. But when we're exploring someone else and we're observing someone else and we're not too close to it, we might be able to see things in them that we can't see in ourselves that actually exist within us. So support groups can be a really good time now. And with my placement, like for example, this can be going to therapy in a support group or using astrology, Aquarius rules astrology, to heal my childhood experiences, traumas that I've experienced in my childhood, things that have affected my self-expression, my creativity, and I can explore ways that this has affected my business, how it's reflected my romance and dating life, and my ability to have fun. So this is just an example of how these things can show up and how you can work on these energies. And for me personally, I tend to be, my baseline is generally more disconnected and flat when I'm dysregulated and to be able to continue to function. And as I get older, this is less the case because there's just more stress being overloaded on my nervous system. And so there's a little bit more stimulation taking place, which is good because when you're stuck and you're not in movement or you're just continuing to be able to progress, then it's like, what's going to incentivize you to take a step back, right? And so now there can be psychological triggers that stimulate that stuck energy so that you can make changes, so that you can make momentum, so that you can have momentum. And so this is a great way to really work with this energy. Now, one thing, and this is also like not just group therapy, but this could also be doing trauma-informed somatic therapy in a support group or online. This is also a great way to do this, and it's one of the best ways to regulate your nervous system. But there are other ways that you can do this. Like for example, with my chart, I have fifth house involved. Fifth house is about fun. It's about dancing, things like that. I have Pluto here. And so it's not just like Scorpio ruling my fifth house, but I have Pluto here and it conjuncts my moon. My moon is about my physical body. And my moon is in Libra. Libra rules the hips. So for me, doing hula hoops, maybe dancing or something that releases trapped trauma in my hips, doing hip stretches can be really beneficial for me. There are different ways, and in the personalized consultation, in the how to work with the current astrology, where I look at each of your rising signs, I can give you specific recommendations on how you can work with this energy. And I should have mentioned this earlier, but for this, for each rising sign, these are going to be created on demand as you guys start purchasing it. So for those of you guys who first purchase your rising sign, you can ask a question and I can give personalized information that normally requires a personalized consultation. So you definitely want to jump on this and be the first person to get your rising sign. But this is to say that there's different ways, you know, with somatic therapy. There can be breath work, there can be trauma-informed yoga, heart-opening yoga. There's Feldenkrais method. There's so many different methods, and it's about what works best for every individual. Are you a neurodivergent? Do you know, some people regulating your nervous system is less about somatic therapy. It might be about a physical detox. Some people, it's about doing something like doing an energetic spiritual process. This can be soul retrievals. This can be releasing things from your past, things of that nature. So if you have Pluto and Aquarius in your 12th house, for example, This can be something more spiritual in nature. So it does really vary. Some of you, it's going to be more logical, practical, tangible. It might be gardening. For some of you, it might be doing something emotional and cathartic and creative. And, it really does depend on every single person. Some people, it's going to be physically active. Some people, it's going to be more personal. Although there are things in the chart that do kind of show sort of a mixture. With Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, these are more social, but Saturn and Neptune in Aries is a little bit more private. So there's sort of this combination here going on. And essentially, you want to take a look at the ways that you can work with Pluto in Aquarius to really support yourself. Now, for some of you guys, you might have been doing therapy for a while and it just hasn't quite clicked. And then now something can actually just flip a switch. This could also be astrology, like I mentioned. Maybe you're reading something. Psychological astrology can be really beneficial. My signature consultation is the j-mescorpioaf, and it was created at the request of my psychologist clients. And it really helps you to get clear on what type of therapy actually works best for you. What kind of trauma healing is going to be best for you. There's so many different modalities. And so if you want to look at something more specific, you're welcome to book a consultation with me on that. I think that this is probably one of the best times to book this consultation, just more than ever before. But for some of you, like this activation, it may not necessarily feel as good. It may not be this clarifying, oh my God, this is the holy grail that I've been waiting for. I'm so grateful. It might actually negatively trigger you. And if you haven't been working with the energies in the way that's the most beneficial for you, you might experience some of the more challenging aspects of it. For example, you might actually lose friends. And if and when these friendships end, let it. Because Pluto is about endings. It's about death. It's about killing things off in the sign that rules friends. Specifically, the universe is going to cut off friends that dysregulate your nervous systems, the ones that are preventing you from achieving your goals, from being able to be the unique, innovative, creative, insightful version of yourself. And this is going to create space and room for friends that are more psychological and strategic, people who really see you and understand you, people who support your nervous system, people who also have resources and support to really help you. And something I do recommend for everyone is think about what are some ways that you'd like your friends to support you, and take the time to express this and ask for this support. Because Pluto is about receiving support from others. It's about leveraging other people's resources in the sign that rules your friends. And part of healing is allowing yourself to receive. Hyperindependence is a trauma response. So think about, hey, these are the things that I'd like to have support on. But also think about how you can support your friends too, because we all have Pluto in Aquarius. And encourage your friends to ask you for support. This is because Aquarius is an air sign. It's about speaking. Aquarius is about community. It's about having an ecosystem in order to support each other. And so this is a really good way to do this, especially if it's really difficult for you to ask for support or you're unsure about it. This is really good practice, because if you have a hard time asking to receive support, how are you going to magnetize resources from others? How are you going to get financial support? It's important to learn to feel comfortable saying, hey, this is what I desire. This is what I'd like. And so this is such a great way to practice that. If you aren't practicing that, then it's almost like all the actions that you're doing, you're doing it independently, you're going after things, you're going after things, you're going after things, but you're not receiving it, which means you're constantly doing, chasing, chasing, but not actually receiving. And that's a problem. So really take the time to think about these things. You can join online communities as well. This is something that can really support you with this placement. Now, let's talk about what it means to have Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Now, with Saturn and Neptune, you've got two planets that are sleepy signs. They represent sleep. They can create sort of like an exhaustion, and it creates more delays in the sign that's very much about go, 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 get shit done. It's the most physically active sign. And so this can be a little difficult for a lot of Aries risings who are used to just getting started right away. And something that I've heard a lot of my clients say is, I'm just so confused. I don't know what to get started on, which is such an accurate manifestation of Saturn and Aries, because Saturn creates blocks and Neptune creates confusion in the sign that's about starting new things and taking action. But here's the thing that's really beautiful about this is that now more than ever, because Saturn, yes, does create delays, but it's also about being strategic, being structured. It's about coming correct. It rules success. And Neptune is about deeper meanings and value and doing something that's important and that matters to you. And so if you're finding that you're not able to start something, it could be because you're not coming correct. You're not doing things in the most strategic, structured, beneficial way that's going to lead to success. And so Saturn creates blocks and Neptune dissolves. The price of admission in order to get started is to find the correct method that has meaning for you. Find the spiritual value, the thing that's really important to you. And once you get that, you're going to be able to take action, which is beautiful because now you're not wasting your time just getting started on things, because you're pretty much assured that when you're taking action, it's actually in alignment. So this is really beneficial. Now, the other thing is that a lot of people are experiencing exhaustion, and Neptune is going to be there for a really long time, but Saturn is only going to be here for 2 years. But by mastering this, it's going to affect you for 10 years or even for the rest of your life. Wherever you have Aries in your chart, because of these transits, it can pretty much ensure that if you work on this, the actions that you take are going to be strategic, calculated actions that ultimately benefit you. The other thing is it's not just about action. That's very much focused on Aries. But Saturn and Neptune, like I mentioned, it rules sleep. It's about being exhausted, right? Think about it as it's rest. And there are 7 different types of rest. And so it's really important to work on all of these different types of rests in order to really support yourself. I'm just pulling up the list of what the 7 types of rest are. It's like sleep, creativity, social. I'm looking it up right now. So there's physical, mental, sensory, emotional, social, creative, and spiritual rest. So it's important to restore these things. Now, depending on the other planets that are involved, where you have Aries in your chart, it will let you know, like, is it, for example, in a social sign, or is it, I'm sorry, not a social sign, like a social house. So the fire and air signs are social, and earth and water signs are introverted. So these things can influence it. Your personal planets can influence it. If you have Aries in your 12th house, this may be more tied to spiritual exhaustion. And it's important to work on that. For some of you guys, it might be something different. Like if you have this placement, Aries in your 5th house, it may be creative rest that you need to restore more. This is the case if you're a Sagittarius rising. For social rest, it could be in any of the social houses, so third, seventh, and 11th house. With emotional rest, the water houses, the fourth, eighth, and 12th house, especially if it's also related to your moon or your Venus, for example. With sensory rest, and this is really important for neurodivergence. If you're prone to overstimulation, irritability, you're feeling fried and stuff, making sure that your senses aren't being overwhelmed is really important. Mental rest is really important. If you have air or Mercury related to these things, really making sure that you take mental breaks is really important. And then with physical rest, it's making sure that you are sleeping, and also incorporating naps can be really beneficial for you. So these are going to be things that I provide for you in your personalized consultation, or if you want to get the how to work with the current astrology for your rising sign, I talk about these things more precisely based on your placements. But these are things that you essentially kind of want to look at. And I have a more detailed video where I talk about this, so I'm not going to get into it too much. I'll talk about it briefly right now, but I'll put a link below to that video. It's very generous. And I also talk about what it means to have Saturn and Neptune in Aries in every rising sign. So you can check that out for a little bit more thorough of a detail. But this is to say that Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. So you want to take a look at where Capricorn and Aquarius are in your chart. And the way to inspire you and motivate you to take action could be tied to creating a sense of security and stability that really supports you. It's making sure to work through any fears and negativities, which Saturn rules, and Neptune. Neptune is more, both Saturn and Neptune are actually more, it's actually about fear. And so it's about working through these things so that you're able to take action. In the past, you might have just been able to rough it out and persevere, but now is a time where you kind of have to confront and face these things. And it's ultimately going to really benefit and support you. And then Aquarius is about your friends, it's about your nervous system. And so providing your body with nervous system support, with community, with friends, that social support is very much going to help inspire you to take action, especially for those of you guys who are entrepreneurs, because Aries rules the sign of entrepreneurs. And so this is really going to help you. Now, on the other hand, or not the other hand, but with Uranus going into Gemini, this is about, or actually, I'm sorry, let me go back to when I was talking about Neptune also in Aries. I completely forgot about that, which is hilarious because Neptune rules Pisces, which is about forgetting. So Neptune is a modern ruler of Pisces, and Pisces is about healing. It's about letting go. It's about your fears, your vulnerabilities, your psychological downfall, your subconscious, unconscious mind, the things that are hidden from you. It's also about your spirituality. It's about your spirit guides and support from the spirit realm. And so if you find that you're trying to do everything yourself and it's just not happening, ask for your guides, the spirit realm, for support. Think about, if you're not able to move forward, what is it that you have to let go of? Saturn is about heaviness. It's burdensome. Both Saturn and Neptune are about the past. What are you still hanging on to that you don't need, that's making it difficult for you to move forward, that you no longer need to carry, that's important for you to let go of? This is where Neptune can really help with that. And when you do that, you're able to heal, you're able to lighten your load, and then you can take action. So these are some of the things. But you can also you might find it's this interesting mixture where it's like you have to do a little bit of research, you have to put in the effort to access your subconscious, unconscious mind, your psychological downfalls and stuff. And you might be wondering, well, how am I supposed to figure that out? Saturn blocks and Neptune hides. Pray, Ask your friends, regulate your nervous system, connect with spirituality to get this clarity. Okay, and these are things that can be found in your head, in your body. It's I say body because Aries is the most physically active sign. It's not that Aries rules the entire body, but you might feel it more in your body overall. So these are things that you can really look at. And where Pisces is in your chart shows you the easiest way for you to access your subconscious, your unconscious mind, your spirit realm, your psychological downfall. So for me, I have Pisces in my ninth house. And so I work with the ninth house energy in order to access this. The best way for me to identify my psychological downfalls, my subconscious, unconscious mind, is through astrology. It's through strengthening and developing my growth mindset. It's through traveling. It's things like that. These in ancient astrology, the ninth house rules the father. In modern astrology, it's the 10th house. So working on my father wounds can also help me with these things. So there's just different ways that you can work with this energy and think about what you can do. Now, Pisces is also about prayers, spirit guides. And so with having Pisces in my ninth house, this is between the hours of 2 to 4 p.m. So this is when I can pray during these times. And it may be easier for me to get more insights in order to really understand what's unseen and what's unknown to make it seen, to make it known. This is a good way to essentially work with this energy. This can also be maybe doing soul retrieval, spiritual healing modalities, past lives regressions, QHHT, hypnosis, in order to get this clarity. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to get started, or you're trying to initiate something. These are things that can help you. So those are some things that you can work with. If you guys want a recommendation for your QHHT specialist, let me know. One of my really good friends and clients is a QHHT specialist. She is a Capricorn moon and Venus ascendant with the stellium in her 9th and 12th house. For those of you who don't know what this means, a stellium is when you have 3 or more planets in a single zodiac sign, in a single house, or within 30 degrees of each other. And this basically means that these cluster of planets, that area of your life becomes really significant. So she has 2 stelliums in the houses that rule spirituality. She's a very strategic, she's a very well-educated, very diverse understanding. And when she decides she wants to do something, she goes to that country, the best place in the world that offers this. She's just extremely meticulous. She's had not just extensive research in this incarnation, but in previous incarnations that just pull together. So there's a lot of different ways to essentially work with this energy, but I just wanted to share some examples with you. Now, moving into Uranus in Gemini. It's that same concept where Uranus rules Aquarius, right? So whenever there's a planet in a zodiac sign, you want to think about what sign does that planet rule and what area of your house is it in? So Uranus rules Aquarius in Gemini. Both Uranus and Gemini rule your nervous system. Uranus shakes things up. It's not a bad planet. What I notice is that some people really dislike Uranus, and what that tells me is that you're not necessarily living in alignment, and that's why Uranus acts up, because Uranus, it destroys what's not meant for you. And so if Uranus is constantly being destructive and abrupt in your life, and it's extremely disruptive, it's not Uranus's fault. I'm just going to lovingly call you out. You need to look at yourself and really reflect on, how am I living my life? In what ways is it in misalignment? Because when you live your life in alignment, Uranus isn't going to destroy things. It's actually going to accelerate. Friends, online resources, support that's actually going to help you. So that's just something to keep in mind and to essentially think of. But this is to say that Uranus can also reverse the Gemini state that you're in, Gemini being your nervous system. And so there can be like this like fluctuation and changes going on and stuff like that. There are different ways that you can work with this energy. Similar to having Pluto in Aquarius, this can be an opportunity to do somatic therapy, do different exercises that support your nervous system in a community, in large groups. Uranus is about large groups. This can also be with friends, specifically with people who are eclectic, innovative, inclusive, diverse, neurodivergent. In fact, finding, especially for those of you who are neurodivergent, ADHD, autistic folks, I would recommend doing somatic therapy designed specifically for neurodivergence. This is something that can very much support you. Now, I do have some general recommendations on what you can do. So with this one that I'm going to recommend, it does depend on your natal Uranus as well, but using electrical devices in order to regulate your nervous system, to support your nervous system and your mind, such as biofeedback. There's different other types of things, scala waves, bioresonance, things of that nature. It's not for everyone though. Some people aren't going to do well with this sort of treatment and could actually end up getting migraines. So what's interesting is that like I've seen posts on Reddit where people are like, I was told that this was really going to help me, but I have really bad migraines. And some people are like, oh, just keep going. It's really good. I've had such great experiences. Not everything is for everyone. Okay, so if you have challenging aspects to Uranus, I actually advise against this. Otherwise, it can be a really great resource. Now, the other thing is what I recommend. This could also be like solfeggio frequencies or binaural beats and stuff as well, because Gemini is a set of two. So things that where with binaural beats, you're basically hearing two different beats in each ear. And what it's doing is it's recalibrating your brain. And there's more of an effect now more than ever before. Now, the other thing that I recommend that some of you guys look into is hand drumming. So I had this really amazing experience in LA. I met this drum therapist, and basically this therapist, this drum therapist got me to like do a beat, and what it did is it regulated my nervous system, because it's like I was told like just tap twice fast and then do it slowly. Tap, 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 tap. And these binary practices, what it does is it creates like this vibration, this sequence, it regulates your nervous system. And he started talking about things and explaining to me about his experience as a way to distract me. And apparently he was hired to teach rhythm to Bruce Lee's students, because Bruce Lee was saying that American martial arts artists have a disadvantage because we only know one rhythm. So someone who knows less martial arts or less skilled can still beat someone if they just switch up the rhythm. So he's talking about the importance of rhythm, and I just thought it was really interesting. He's talking about different things, and so I'm just listening, and I didn't know until the end, but later on what he told me is that because we're used to a faster cadence of things, when people start off, they naturally are tapping really fast because a lot of us are in survival mode. We're just going, 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 going. When you're healed, you're moving slower. You're more leisurely. And so he gets people into a conversation, gets them distracted, and then he'll start slowing down. And then what happens is most of the time that change freaks people out because it's dysregulating to the nervous system and people speed up. And so that tells them, okay, they're not ready to slow down yet. So he continues to engage with them until, he keeps that like rhythm and stuff, because we just naturally, unconsciously sync to the environment around us. And eventually over time, people start feeling comfortable slowing down because their nervous system feels safe, which I thought was really interesting. And so the key that he's doing is that he's trying to get people into a state to ultimately slow down and feel better. So drumming is just such a fascinating way to do that. Gemini rules musicians, it rules music, instruments, it's represented by twins. So when you're hand drumming and you're using your two hands, it's very much in tune with that Gemini energy. Gemini also rules the hands and the nervous system. So using drumming, hand drumming, to support your nervous system, to improve your cognitive state can be really beneficial for you. So these are things that you can incorporate. There's different ways to work with this energy. And the things that I mentioned are more so far have been related to your nervous system state, right? And basically by doing these things, it's also going to have a social impact on you, and it's going to have a financial impact on you. You know how earlier I was mentioning that you're going to be able to attract that community, that support that you need in order to succeed. And so with Uranus and Taurus, this is another friendship community placement. While Aquarius is more about online communities, Gemini is about your local in-person communities. This can also be siblings as well. People that you talk to maybe a little bit more consistently. I mean, well, that actually depends. Let me just, like, Gemini does have this energy of like friends that you talk to a little bit more consistently, but it's also a mutable sign. And Aquarius is ruled by Saturn as the traditional ruler, and Saturn's more consistent. So omit that last part. But this is to say that having Uranus in Gemini, it can also reverse and destroy friendships that don't serve you, especially if these are people that kind of mind fuck you, they disrupt your thinking, if they make you feel ungrounded, they're kind of scattered, they particularly friends that are two-faced. These are people who can leave your life. And again, let them. Whatever Uranus destroys, especially in the area of your house that Gemini is in, it's destroying it because it's not meant to be there. And like, if this happens for you, think about what's being destroyed. Why is it destroying it? What problems came with those friendships, those circumstances, whatever it was that Uranus destroyed? What were you attached to? What was problematic about it? How can you let them, what was problematic about it? And what are more beneficial versions of that? So if it's friends, think about why these friends, what kind of friends were they? In what ways were you attached to them? In what ways were they problematic? And then think about the kind of friends that you want to have, the friends that are going to support you, and set that intention and be open to receiving that. And something that I'll say is, it's not that I think you should be trying to find people who are going to be and connect with people who are lucrative and to just be like, oh, I want to be friends with you because I'm going to profit off of you. Like, that's cringe energy, right? But what I will say is that the friends in your life that are going to support you, especially with these transits, they're going to, not even necessarily directly, but indirectly financially support you. With Aquarius, it's increased wealth through probably more specific things, specific resources, because with Pluto, it's about magnetizing resources from others. And Pluto, the modern ruler of Scorpio is a little bit more gatekeepery, it's a little bit more specific. So you can look at where Scorpio is in your chart to see where the support comes from. Whereas with Uranus and Gemini, this is a little bit more open and inclusive. It can be in person, it can be online, through communication, through not necessarily long-winded communication, because Gemini is about keeping things short, but it's about making connections. It's about finding those communities, whether it's online, in person, in these online spaces, large group settings, networking opportunities, in order to increase your wealth. These are all people who are going to support your nervous system, people that you can co-regulate with. This is letting go of the airiness, the unpredictability, the instability, the ungroundedness, the scattered energy. These are people who are going to be really stabilizing for you. This is just such a great time to really work with this energy in order to get these benefits. Now, on the other hand, like I've mentioned, there could be challenges. And so I gave some recommendations on how you can redirect that energy, right? But one thing I do want to mention is there's a risk of, because there's so much negative, like, or not negative, I'm sorry, there's so much activation in the, there's so much activation going on that's related to your nervous system. Some of it can be a little challenging. And one thing that I do want to mention that can be a risk for a lot of people, it's a specific health condition that you might actually be experiencing at some point. But the most infuriating thing about it is that you may not be aware of it because this health diagnosis has actually been removed from the DSM, which is basically the medical book that talks about, or it's the psychological medical book that talks about the different diagnoses that exist. And in the US, they removed this, I want to say like decades ago. It was a long time ago. And in the Europe's version of this, the most recent edition removed this. And so what's been happening over the years is that there are a lot of people who are being misdiagnosed with depression because this specific condition has been removed. And so you get all these people who are being told that they're depressed, or they feel like they're depressed based on their understanding of the definition of it. And so many people are getting prescribed antidepressants and it's not working. And there's a lot of layers to that. Like studies have shown that up to, I want to say like 79% of psychiatrists admitted that without looking at brain scans, they were going to give the wrong diagnosis. And we don't scan your brains that aren't getting scanned before getting medication. So there's that problem. But the other problem is that if you don't have depression and you're getting a cocktail of different prescriptions for depression, it's no wonder why it's not working, right? This is really frustrating and infuriating. And eventually, after trying different ones, people are like, oh, I finally found the medication that worked. No, what's probably happening is that you're in a functional freeze, which means that you're disconnected from how you feel and you're able to be functional in this dysregulated nervous system state. It doesn't mean that you've treated your depression that you may not even potentially have. And so this is what I'm talking about, this health condition. It's known as neurasthenia. And neurasthenia is a nervous system state. It's like when your nervous system is experiencing exhaustion, weakness. It's like when your nervous system is suppressed and it's just been so overworked and you're feeling flat. And they have symptoms that might even be seen as depression, in that you might experience fatigue, even with activities that really aren't supposed to be that tiring, where you're just kind of like, okay, proportionately, the amount of effort that I put in for the actual activity that I did, it doesn't make sense that I'm that tired, right? Like that's sort of that's one of the symptoms. It's also, you can experience insomnia, irritability, muscle pain, like all of these things that are associated with depression can actually just be like, being depressed is like you were really, really sad, you're really upset, like you don't have a will to survive. That's more depression. Is it a spectrum? Yes. But a lot of people are actually experiencing neurasthenia, which is different. When you correct your nervous system state, you feel better. Whereas depression, there is a chemical imbalance going on, which is an entirely different situation. And so it's really infuriating to me that so many people actually don't realize that they could actually be experiencing neurasthenia. So it's something that I do want to mention because there is a risk of this. And so if you're worried that, oh my God, I'm experiencing depression, or I tried all the medication and it's not working, I really encourage you to give your nervous system support. If you're feeling that exhaustion, then the type of somatic therapy, nervous system support that's going to help you, it's basically your nervous system is in a hypo-aroused state where you're disconnected, whereas when you're overly stimulated and you're feeling more like a raw nerve, exposed, more stimulated, this is more the type of nervous system state known as hyper regulated that's associated to Gemini. And this makes a lot of sense because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. It rules your lower body, and Saturn hides. Your legs you could hide, but your upper body, Gemini, your hyper aroused nervous system, this is more exposed. Gemini, it's an air sign, it's Mercury, it talks, it's social, it's exposed, it rules toddlers. So it's more like feeling overwhelmed and stuff. It's that state of energy and stuff. So for those of you like who are being activated by Uranus in Gemini, doing nervous system regulating exercises for hyper arousal by down regulating is really important. Whereas for people who are feeling kind of flat, disconnected, that hypo aroused state, people who might be experiencing neurasthenia symptoms will do well with upregulating exercises. But the other thing I want to say about that is you don't want to just automatically necessarily down regulate or upregulate. It really does depend, because if you just immediately stop like trying to down regulate without releasing that excess energy, you're trapping it in your body. If you're immediately trying to upregulate, but you need to actually like thaw a little bit, it's not really going to be effective. So with overstimulation, you need to discharge the energy. If you're feeling flat, it's important to thaw the energy out first before you take movement. So these things really do matter, but with neurasthenia, doing exercise, somatic therapy that's designed specifically for hypoarousal can be really beneficial, letting yourself rest. But again, remember, resting isn't just sleep, especially with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And if you're experiencing exhaustion, the upregulating exercise is movement. And it's one of those you need to move in order to generate energy, right? You need motion. And yet you want to make sure that you're not overly extending your energy to the point that you're tired because you don't have energy. Like you do want to find efficient ways to stimulate energy without overdoing it. This is something to essentially be aware of, but you can do simple exercises in order to recalibrate yourself. And the type of somatic therapy that works best really does depend on your body, what planets are involved. I had a client who had things related to her hips, and her energy level was really crashed. And so doing somatic therapy related to her hips during the hours of Libra was really beneficial. Some people, there's so many different exercises, and there can be some body movement exercises that help to stimulate the brain and coordination that can be really beneficial. For some people, it's something that's a little bit different. If you're neurodivergent, you have hypermobility and stuff, certain things are going to be better for you, and a lot of the conventional stuff may not work well for you. This is where I've had a lot of training in, and so I can give you these insights that aren't necessarily found in a lot of spaces. And so all of these things really matter for, so some people stretching because your body is super tight. There are some charts where I look at it and it's okay, you have nervous system suppression, your hips are gridlocking, and this is affecting your constipation, for example. There are different things that you can do for hip opening exercises and different things that you can essentially do. But I really wanted to take the time to talk about neurasthenia because a lot of people just aren't aware that this even exists. And I think some people, the idea of going to a doctor and popping a pill to fix something like seems kind of convenient, but you still have to get there. You have to find the right doctor. You have to pay the doctor. You have to maintain the prescription. You have to remember to take it. It's actually not as easy as people might think it is. And especially for women, we have more connections between our left and right brain hemisphere, making medication not necessarily as effective for us compared to men. And medicine is based on the white male body. And it's even like more challenging for neurodivergence. Whereas somatic exercises, there are things that you can do, stretches that you can do, movements that you can do at home. You don't need any tools, any equipment, things of that nature. So it's gentle, it's effective, and it's very much about minimum effort, maximum results, where it's not just helping one area of your life, but it's helping multiple areas of your life. And so I just wanted to let you know about that. For anyone, if you're exhibiting these symptoms, try these things, see how it works for you. And if you'd like to get a personalized consultation with me, I do have a special going on, because something that I do is every time the zodiac placements change, I rotate and offer different services. This works really well with my chart. And so I'm going to be offering personalized consultation for nervous system support, which is completely personalized to you. I'll give specific exercises, things that you can do. And my consultations are going to be focused on providing emotional, psychological, physical, spiritual, somatic guidance, giving insights on essentially what is the best area of your life to focus on? What is the best way for you to support your nervous system? In what environment? Should it be social? Should it be more private? Should it be what kind of an environment? Who is the archetype or archetypes of people who could support you? The best time of day to do this? Things of that nature. Lifestyle changes that you can do. For some people, there can be supplemental recommendations. There can be some food stuff. There's different things, and it really depends on every individual. The environment that's the most optimal for you, things of that environment, things of that nature, I'm going to be offering in that consultation. And this is only going to be going on during Gemini season, so you want to snatch that up while it's still available. And then I have the how to work with your current astrology for every rising sign. And that one is going to be something that's designed to last for 10 plus years, essentially. Saturn, it's only going to last for 2 years, but there's still very much this energy that you can really take advantage of. And when you work on it right now, it's going to affect your life for 10 years or maybe even in your entire lifetime. That's how effective and powerful it is. It's a lot more affordable than my personalized consultation. You can get either just your rising sign, you can get your sun, moon, rising, or you can get all the rising signs and you can give them away as gifts to your friends and family. Now, these ones are going to be created upon request. So if you're the first person to select your rising sign, you'll have an opportunity to ask a question, and I'll be able to give you personalized insights. That's not going to be offered for anyone else who purchases it after you. So you want to jump on it as quickly as you can. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. If you haven't already, please subscribe, comment, share this video with anyone who you think will benefit from it. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.